I was asked to take a look at this Craftsman battery. It's the version 2 or version, I don't know what they are, v20, whatever, a lot of the new tools. So long story short, the owner says he's got about 3 of them. I have one of them here. He says that he would charge them up, put them in his bag, take them to work the next day, and they'd be dead. And he got another battery, did the same thing. Got another battery, did the same thing. I believe this is battery number 3. I'm assuming because he wrote 3 on it, but who knows. So after doing a quick search online, I come to find out that the Craftsman 2 amp hour batteries, apparently they're all doing this. So I wanted to take it apart and find out, is it a bad batch of cells that they got, or is it something on, the management board here? Normally I would think, just bad cells, but if there's that many doing it, that's kind of odd. Now I obviously have taken this apart, before starting this video, and I did some testing first, and yeah, it was dead. It was completely dead. Now they use, I believe these are Samsung, yeah, Samsung cells, so they use good cells. These are 2000 milliamp hour cells, so it's 2 amp hour. So the first thing I did is since I don't have the charger, I just hooked the power supply up to each side and charged it. And when it works again. Yeah, I couldn't get it to actually die overnight. It dropped voltage, but it didn't completely discharge overnight. So I'm not sure what the deal is. So I thought, what, let's just take it apart, see what we can come up with, and if there's a bad cell, I'll replace it. Now I've already charged this and discharged it using a resistor numerous times because I wanted to see, if it would, if the problem would come back, and it really didn't. It still works. Now, as you notice, it's right now at just about 5 volts across all of them, because these are all connected in series, and it comes out to be about 20 volts, all said and done with. Now, these are the 2 power connectors that go straight to the tool, and I believe this is actually what the tool feeds off of, because this is where the thermal coupler would be, and there's the ID. And these are connected directly to the cells. There is no interrupt in between or anything other than this fusible link right here. Now the one thing I did notice was when this was fully charged, this board got hot, and it stayed hot the entire time. So there's obviously a chip or something underneath here. Maybe it's for the the charge meter. I don't really know. So I wanted to take this apart. I wanted to unsolder these and lift, or at least attempt to lift, this board off and see what's on the other side of it. Now before we do that, let's take a look at voltages of the batteries. Again, this is discharged. I charged it, discharged it numerous times. So the first cell is at we'll say 1.2, 1.0, and this is at 0.7. Now what's interesting is I actually checked this not too long ago, and at 0.8, so that could be our bad cell right there. 0.9 and 0.9. Alright, so let's pull this off. There we go. We'll lift that up. And I think I'm just going to walk the board off. So it's very difficult for me to see anything on here, but it looks like there's 3 diodes here, obviously because it says D1 through D3, 2 transistors. You have a couple ICs over here, and this is the thermistor. And this is the area here which got fairly warm when the pack was charged but not doing anything. And I could leave it and come back the next morning and feel, and it's still, I mean, it wouldn't burn you, but it was definitely warm. And which, was kind of odd because, it wasn't really doing anything. It was just sitting idle, but I cannot read what these ICs are. It's too small. Again, this is why I need a microscope. So the meter here is self-contained. Just pulls off of what looks like the positive and the negative, because that's where the fuse is. Other than that, I really can't see anything, so I guess this is kind of pointless, but I would love to actually pull these off and see what these diodes, if any of these failed. I can try and test these diodes while they're in the circuit, but that's not really going to tell us much because this one's going through a cap. There's a cap there. There's a resistor. Yeah, we'll give it a shot and see what we find. So there's the forward. And the reverse is showing 2.1 on this one, but that, again, doesn't mean anything because it's in the circuit. Let's take a look here. So that's forward. .1. Did I do this one already? Yeah. So it's all showing the same. Looks like they're silicon diodes. Now this one, I'm not getting any reverse bias voltage from, which is good, and that's what they all should pretty much do. But again, these are in circuit. I really can't do anything with it. So what sucks is I don't have a hot air station or any way to reliably remove or safely remove these diodes to test them out of the circuit. And even if I did get them out, I don't know if I could get something back in there without destroying everything else. So I'm just going to leave them on there for now. And since we do have this off, let's check the battery voltage once again. And let's just investigate the battery pack itself and see if any of these cells are bad. So 1.3, this might be upside down from the way it was before. I don't remember what direction I had. I really wish this light would stay on. Alright, so it's 1.3, 1.3, 1.1, 1.4. This is interesting. 1.5. So this is actually pulling, it looks like this is pulling a load even when there's nothing connected. So that's why, so obviously it is getting warm, so it is using power because you need power to generate heat. I'm kind of curious to see where is that coming from. If those diodes are in fact shorted, that could be causing a problem. I'm just guessing at this point. I'm just rambling. So let's do this. Let's turn, I'm going to adjust the power supply, and I'm going to set it to about 19 volts just to start off with. On this side is positive. I'm just going to connect it to here. I know the balance lines aren't connected. I'm just curious to see what happens. It's showing 2 LEDs. Let's bring it up to 20.5. Showing 3 LEDs, which is good. And it's showing no current draw yet. Alright, so when you first plug it in, it charges and then it shuts off. And that's good. Let's do this. I'm going to put this back on the battery, but I'm going to only connect the balance lines. We'll connect everything except the ground, because I want to see where it's pulling that current from. It's all back on. The only thing I have not connected was the ground. Now, I don't know if there's a sufficient connection between here. Let's just bend these over. These ones here are pretty tight, so they should be okay, at least for now. Let's see if we get... so we are getting a 4 milliamp drain, but these batteries are pretty kicked. Tell you what, I'm going to throw a charge through this pack, and then I'm going to come back in about 15-20 minutes. That should be sufficient, and we're going to see if that changes.